Korea's stock market just made history. For the first time ever, the KOSPI crossed 9,000. And the single clearest clue about whether it climbs to 10,000? It's not in Seoul. It's in a chip factory in Boise, Idaho. I know how that sounds. Stick with me by the end of this video, it'll make complete sense. If you're new here, quick version. I spent 17 years as a project manager, building large-scale logistics and warehouse automation systems. Budgets, vendors, timelines, risk registers. That was my world. Right now, I'm on a one-year sabbatical, raising 3 kids and paying for that year with dividend cash flow instead of a paycheck. So I look at markets the way I used to look at a $100 million project. Where's the concentration? Where's the single point of failure? And what's the one event that moves the whole timeline? Today, for the KOSPI, that event is an American earnings report on June 24th. Let's break it down. Here's the thing most foreign investors miss about the Korean market. The KOSPI is supposed to be a national benchmark. Hundreds of companies, the whole economy. But in reality, 2 stocks, Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix, now make up roughly 54% of the entire index's value. Think about that. Half. The KOSPI has basically become a memory chip index, wearing a national benchmark costume. Now do the math. To get from 9,000 to 10,000, the index needs to rise about 11%. And because those 2 memory giants are half the index, they basically have to keep going up. If Samsung and SK Hynix stall, it almost doesn't matter what the other hundreds of companies do. They can't drag the index to a fresh 5-digit milestone on their own. This is where my old job kicks in. In project management, we call this a single point of failure. When one vendor or one milestone can sink the entire project, that's the thing you watch obsessively. The KOSPI's single point of failure is memory chips. Full stop. So the real question isn't, will the KOSPI hit 10,000? The real question is, will memory stocks keep rising? And to answer that, we leave Korea entirely. Globally, there are only 3 major DRAM memory makers on the planet. 2 of them are Korean Samsung and SK Hynix. The third is American Micron Technology out of Boise, Idaho. Here's the trick. Micron runs on a different fiscal calendar than the Korean firms, so Micron usually reports its earnings first, before Samsung and SK Hynix tell us anything. That makes Micron a live temperature check for the entire memory industry. When Micron talks about chip pricing, about demand, about supply, it's describing the exact same market that Samsung and SK Hynix sell into. Same customers, same AI boom, same pricing. So global investors treat a Micron report as a preview for Korean memory stocks. Strong Micron numbers, especially on AI-driven high-bandwidth memory, the HBM that powers data centers, signal. The same tailwinds are blowing for the Korean too. And since those 2 stocks are half the KOSPI, a bullish Micron read can ripple straight into Korea's index. It is honestly one of the cleanest examples of how globalized the chip trade has become. To read Korea's market, you watch Idaho. Okay, so what are the numbers to watch? Micron reports its fiscal 3rd quarter, after the U.S. market close on Wednesday, June 24th. And the setup going in is genuinely striking. Last quarter, Micron posted record revenue and record profit. Then it guided for another record. We're talking roughly $33.5 billion in quarterly revenue, gross margins near 81%, which for a hardware company is almost unheard of, and earnings per share around $19. Management has started calling memory a strategic asset in the AI era, and they're expecting DRAM shipment growth in the low 20% range for the year. So here's my PM checklist for the report. I'm not just watching the headline number, I'm watching whether they confirm the story. 3 things. 1, does pricing hold or keep rising? 2, is HBM demand still accelerating? 3, is the tone on the call confident or cautious? If that strength is confirmed or beaten, it reinforces the idea that the AI memory supercycle still has room to run, and that's exactly the fuel Samsung and SK Hynix would need to keep climbing. So here's my honest opinion, and I want to be careful with how I say this. If Micron's June 24th earnings come in strong, I genuinely think KOSPI 10,000 is on the table. The logic chain is direct. Good Micron results confirmation of a healthy memory cycle. Continued strength in Samsung and SK Hynix. Upward pressure on an index that's literally half made of those 2 names. When so much of the KOSPI rides on memory, one positive signal from the sector's global bellwether can do a lot of heavy lifting. But this is a personal view. And some educated speculation, not a forecast you should trade on. I'm a dad managing a family budget, not a fund manager. The structural setup is real, though. And that's what makes this one earnings report worth circling on your calendar. Now, intellectual honesty time. As a PM, I never present the upside without the risk register. And concentration cuts both ways. The exact same dynamic that could push the KOSPI to 10,000 could just as easily send it sharply lower. If Micron disappoints weak guidance, softening prices, a cautious tone on demand, the read-through to Samsung, and SK Hynix turns negative immediately, and an index leaning this heavily on two stocks feels that pain right away. A market this dependent on memory is a market fully exposed to memory's notorious boom and bust cycles. High concentration means high reward and high risk. There's no separating the two. So that's the beautifully strange reality of today's market. The path to KOSPI 10,000 runs through two Korean memory giants, but the clearest early signal of which way they'll move comes from an American chip maker this Wednesday. To read Korea's index, sometimes you have to watch Idaho. I'll be doing a follow-up the day after earnings to break down what Micron actually said and what it means for the Korean too. So if you want that, subscribe and drop a comment with your guess. Does Micron beat and does KOSPI see 10,000 this year? Make sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.